I'm Patricia.
Standing in Grandma's hospital room, I watched as the truth unfurled like a storm, shattering the carefully constructed lies of my family. It was a moment of reckoning, a turning point that would change everything. A few weeks ago, things were so different. I was just a girl living in a small apartment, working at the local library. My twin sister, Isabella, was the golden child of the family. She had a high-flying career, a penthouse downtown, and all the attention. Meanwhile, I was the one who visited Grandma every Sunday at her old Victorian home on Elm Street. Grandma was the light of my life. She was the only one who truly saw me. Every time I went to her place, we'd bake apple pies and she'd tell me stories about my grandfather. "You have his kind heart, Patricia," she'd say. "Don't ever let anyone dim your light." Then one fateful Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. I was shelving books when my phone rang. It was the hospital. Grandma had suffered a stroke. I rushed to her side, my heart pounding in my chest. When I got there, she looked so small and frail in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines beeping. My mother, Amelia, arrived later, looking as polished as ever in her designer suit. Isabella trailed behind her, texting on her phone. My father, Henry, was his usual quiet self, barely making eye contact with me. "How long have you been here?" Amelia asked, not a trace of warmth in her voice. "About an hour," I replied. Amelia walked past me to Grandma's bedside and started studying the monitors as if she understood them. "What did the doctor say?" "She's in a coma. They don't know when she'll wake up," I said. Isabella finally looked up from her phone. "Oh, you're here? I thought you'd be too busy with your allergies." I bit my tongue. I was used to her jabs. Amelia then said, "Isabella will be Grandma's medical proxy. She's more reliable." I looked at my father, hoping for some support, but he just stared at the floor. "Fine," I said, the word bitter on my tongue. Later that week, a family meeting was called at Amelia's house. It was about Grandma's care, and I suspected her will. When I arrived, the room was already filled with a tense atmosphere. Amelia sat in her favorite armchair, Isabella on the sofa, and Henry in the corner. Amelia started, "We need to discuss how to handle Mother's situation. And Isabella, as the medical proxy, will make the decisions." I tried to speak up. "I visit Grandma every week. I know her better." Amelia cut me off. "Isabella has a more stable life. You're always dealing with your allergies. You can barely take care of yourself." Isabella chimed in, "Remember that time at Christmas? You had a reaction and ruined the party." I was furious, but I held back. "That was an accident. I didn't know the food had nuts." Amelia waved her hand. "The decision is made. And by the way, Isabella's birthday party is next week. It's family only." I waited for her to mention my birthday, which was on the same day, but she didn't. On the day of our birthday, I was alone in my apartment. I was making a simple, nut-free dinner when the doorbell rang. There was a pink box on the doormat with a note from Isabella. "Happy birthday, sis. Sorry I've been distant. Here's something sweet for you." I opened the box. There were beautiful cupcakes from a bakery I loved, known for being nut-free. Part of me was suspicious. Isabella had never been this nice. But another part of me, the part that still hoped for a sisterly bond, wanted to believe it was a genuine gesture. I took a bite of the cupcake. At first, it tasted sweet, but then I noticed a strange, nutty flavor. My throat started to itch. I looked at the cupcake in horror. It was made with almond flour. Panic set in. I tried to spit it out, but it was too late. I couldn't breathe. I crawled to my purse to find my EpiPen, but I'd forgotten to refill it. I managed to call 911, gasping for air. "Help. Allergic reaction. Anaphylaxis," I rasped. The operator asked for my address and then said, "Ma'am, we received a call about you from Isabella. She said you have a history of faking allergic reactions for attention." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she do this? Before I could process it, I passed out on the kitchen floor. I woke up in the ambulance. A kind-looking paramedic named Jake was there. "You gave us a scare," he said. Then he told me, Isabella called 911 before you did and said you were faking it. I was in shock. Jake showed me my medical chart. Your vitals don't lie. You were really in danger. While I was in the hospital, alone and recovering, a man named Mr. Thompson called me. He was Grandma's attorney. He said he had a document that Grandma prepared before her stroke. When he came to see me, he handed me a thick envelope. Inside was Grandma's will. To my surprise, she'd left her house and savings to me. Grandma overheard Amelia and Isabella talking about your birthday and the will. She knew they were up to no good, Mr. Thompson explained. A few days later, Isabella and Amelia came to the hospital, acting all concerned. Isabella brought a bouquet of flowers and started crying. I was so worried when I heard you had a reaction. I called 911 right away. Amelia nodded in agreement. Thank goodness Isabella thought to call. I just stared at them, not saying a word. I knew the truth, and I was waiting for the right moment to expose them. After they left, I remembered the photo I'd taken of the cupcakes before eating them. I contacted Jake, and he helped me investigate. We found out that the cupcakes didn't come from the nut-free bakery. Someone had put a fake label on them. Jake's friend, a digital forensics expert, managed to access the family's old shared cloud. There, we found text messages between Isabella and Amelia. They were planning to send me the cupcakes with almond flour, knowing I'd have a reaction. And Isabella was supposed to call 911 first to say I was faking it, so the ambulance wouldn't rush. I decided it was time for a reckoning. I called a family meeting at the hospital in Grandma's room. Everyone gathered, including aunts, uncles, and cousins. Mr. Thompson was there with the will. Amelia started. As you know, Mother's condition is critical. Isabella will continue to make decisions about her care. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. Actually, I called this meeting. There's a new development. Your mother left a will 2 years ago. He opened the envelope and read, Margaret Thompson, leave my home on Elm Street and my savings to my granddaughter, Patricia. Isabella jumped up. That's impossible. Patricia must have manipulated Grandma. Mr. Thompson calmly replied, the will is legally binding, signed and notarized 2 years ago. It's been authenticated. My father looked at Amelia. You knew about this? You lied to me. Amelia tried to defend herself. Grandma was confused. I stepped forward. No, she wasn't. And I have proof of what you and Isabella did. I showed them the text messages. The room erupted in chaos. Everyone was shocked. Then, a weak voice came from Grandma's bed. Amelia. We all froze. Grandma's eyes were open. She'd been awake and listening to everything. Mother, you're awake. Let me explain. Amelia said, her voice trembling. Grandma whispered, I heard everything. You've been so cruel, trying to hurt Patricia. You're no longer my daughter. Amelia let out a sob, and Isabella looked like she'd seen a ghost. Grandma then turned to me. Come here, sweetheart. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you sooner. I walked to her bedside and took her hand. It's okay, Grandma. I'm here. In the end, justice was served. Isabella was charged with reckless endangerment, and Amelia was charged as an accessory. My father filed for divorce from Amelia. I moved into Grandma's house, surrounded by memories of love and warmth. Jake and I became closer. He was my rock during this whole ordeal. And as I sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset on Elm Street, I knew that I'd finally found my place in the world. I was no longer the forgotten sister. I was Patricia, and I was strong. Looking back on this journey, I've learned that family isn't always blood. True family is the one that stands by you in your darkest hours. And sometimes, the truth, no matter how hard it is to uncover, will set you free.